We're going to talk about an extraordinary story, a loophole that campaigners against sexual abuse, sexual assault have found in terms of sex offenders being able to change their name. Even though it's illegal to do so, they can actually do it. It's illegal for them to change their name and not let the authorities know. And that's exactly what's happening. So we're going to speak to Chris Tuck in a moment, a campaigner against this sort of thing, just to find out what she wants to do to make sure they cannot get through this loophole. We're also going to get some money advice from personal finance and credit expert Roger Giewolb a little bit later on, and we'll also be taking a look at what is being talked about on socials online. But yes, make sure you stay with me this next hour. But let's talk about a loophole. It appears that sex offenders can get through in terms of making sure that they can go around without people knowing that they're on the sex offenders register. So it's currently illegal for registered sex offenders to change their name without informing police. However, that system relies on the offender to notify police of their name change. And there's evidence, strong evidence to support that that's not what's happening. So they can change their name, but they have to inform the authorities, police, that they've done that. So the Home Office have confirmed that there are 16,200 offenders who are charged with a breach of that notification requirement. Not only that, there was a Freedom of Information request by the Safeguarding Alliance, and they found that 900 registered sex offenders went missing from the police in a 3-year period. Honestly, if one went missing, that's a scandal in itself, but 900, that's just extraordinary. Let's get more on this. We'll speak to the woman campaigning to make sure they cannot get through this loophole. Chris Tuck joins me now. She's an abuse survivor, and as I say, she's now campaigns tirelessly to make sure that other people do not face abuse as well. Thanks very much for joining me today, Chris. Just explain just a little bit, more details about this loophole, what indeed sex offenders are doing to make sure that they go unnoticed, if you like.
So this Della Wright, my friend, has campaigned for this along with the Survivors Alliance, okay? And they've worked with Sarah Champion MP to make sure that this loophole is closed, because effectively what it allows it to happen is sexual offenders, convicted sexual offenders on the sexual offenders register can change their name for less than £45. They can then get a new identity or a clean identity, and through the DBS system they can then go on and get jobs in care homes, schools, wherever, and their perpetrating history, their convictions do not follow them if they can change their name. And Della was raped when she was 6 years old by this perpetrator. She then went through the criminal justice system, and because he changed his name over 5 times, she couldn't get justice in a straightforward way. Because he kept changing his name, he was able to evade the criminal justice system until she was able to catch up with him, and he got charged with the name that he was then using, and he's been convicted for prison sentence for 22 years. So she's been trying to close this loophole to protect other children. As you said, those 900 offenders, convicted sexual offenders, have gone missing. So how many of them have gone on to change their name, got jobs where there are children or vulnerable young people, and gone on to reoffend? And this is what we want to prevent, is the impunity of reoffending. And it does happen.
Well, it undermines,
and it has happened.
Absolutely undermines even those criminal checks that we do on anybody who has access to children, and even then, like things like cab drivers, and I, as a parent myself, I absolutely readily depend on them. And if I can't even trust that because there is this loophole, as I said, it just undermines it. What needs to be done? What are you calling on the government to do here?
So Della and Sarah Champion MP and other MPs are they're having a debate in Parliament on the 2nd of March at 11 a.m. Now, for this to happen, it needs as many MPs as possible to show up for that debate. So everyone in society could get involved in this. They need to download a letter, send it to their MP and request their MP to turn up for this debate so that the law can be changed to close this loophole. It's such an easy thing to do, and I just do not understand why government have not done it. And why is it involving everybody's effort to make so much noise for it to actually be closed? It doesn't make no sense to me, but this is what's happening. So we want as much weight behind it as possible to get all of the MPs to turn up to this debate on that date, 2nd of March, 11 a.m. We need them to attend, we need them to understand what is going on, and we need them to help all of us change that law.
So when you say it's easy to be done, what needs to be done exactly? Is it just maybe make it illegal completely for sex offenders to change their name? What exactly do you want done?
So Sarah Champion and Della are asking for a mark or some kind of mark to be made on sexual offenders, convicted ones, to have something put on their passports and their driving licenses so that when a name change is logged, it's flagged up so that everybody knows and are aware of these convicted sexual offenders changing their name, so we can keep track of them, so we can keep an eye on what is actually happening. So they're asking for an amendment to the policing bill to happen.
So just got a text from Dan, messaging from Ken. He says, my goodness, CL, it's shocking what's going on. Absolutely 100 behind you. What on earth is going on? And honestly, I had no idea that this was the case, because it only recently changed in regards to that notification. Is that right? This is only relatively recent things sex offenders have to do if they're changing their name, or I'm seeing it's from 2015.
They've had to do it for many years, but it's the onus is on them to tell the police about any name change. And to be blunt, if you have been convicted of a sexual offence and you want to get on with your life, you're not going to tell people. You're not going to rock up to the police or the probation and say, oh, I've changed my name. You want to probably live your life out free of that following you. But unfortunately, they've committed a crime. They are a danger to children. So we need to be keeping a track of the convicted sexual offenders. We need to know where they are. We need to know what they're up to in order to protect children. Or, the DBS system should be asking everybody, why are you changing your name? Yeah, you've got a right to change your name, especially if you're not a convicted sexual offender. Of course you've got a right to change your name, but they are using this loophole. That loophole has to change for this section of people, convicted sexual offenders.
What do you need to make it happen? Is this a case of numbers? Do you need a petition, a certain number of people to back this? And how long would it take as well? Because these sorts of changing law, it can take a while.
The thing is, the government are fully aware of this loophole. It's been brought to their attention so many times. They've actually done 2 internal investigations to see what it's about. What is the loophole? What is the outcome? How do we do that? And the feedback to Sarah Champion was, we've done our internal investigation. We don't need to publish anything because it's all okay. Well, if it's all okay, how come these sexual offenders, the convicted sexual offenders, are still doing what they're doing? If anything, they need to understand that we need to trust what they're saying. And at the moment, trust has been trashed by the police, the criminal justice system, and by MPs. We need to trust you. You need to show us that you've done what needs to be done. And what needs to happen is this close in the loophole. That's what needs to happen.
So as you say, there's a big meeting, a debate taking place on Thursday, the 2nd of March, and you say you need people to be at Westminster, or just to get in touch with their MPs ahead of this?
Yeah, we need the MPs in Parliament to listen to what is actually going on, and we need them to back the amendment to the policing bill that Sarah Champion has put forwards. Often MPs won't get involved in things like this, and they should be, in my opinion. So we need everyday people that find this horrific, don't agree with it, like we don't agree with it, we need them to send a letter to their MP asking them to be there for this debate. They can download this letter at Della's Law, so on Twitter at Della's Law. If they go on there or any of our social media, there is a link to the letter, the template letter. They can find out who their MP is very easily. They can download that letter. They can send that letter into their MP requesting them to be there for this debate.
Okay. You heard Chris Tuck there. Anything you can do, anything at all, if you think that there needs to be a change to prevent sex offenders from changing their name, getting away with that, going on in their daily life and no one knows, going into work, potentially going to work with children, and no one will ever know about their history, their convicted history, and you want to make a change, make sure you do that search for Della's Law there, send that letter, just send it to an MP. It's already there, just email it, forward it, and let's see if we can make some real change when it comes to protecting potential victims, right? Children, women, men. Let's see what we can do. We've got time, do we? Can we see if I can get a call in? We are talking about Nicola Bulley. Do you think it's right that police were right to divulge personal details, not just about her, when it comes to missing cases in general? Should police divulge information if they think it maybe might help in that investigation, in that search? Dean Mason has tweeted me saying, I think the police should divulge some personal information, but not too much details, like things of a personal matter, either for female or a male. Can I have, I can mention Dean Mason, I've given you a mention, sweetheart. But yeah, indeed, as far as Dean's concerned, yeah, fine, divulge some, but maybe not too much, and maybe not too much personal details. Let me get a call on this. Oh yeah, we'll stick with them for